Well, welcome to Modeling Time with me, Brian Banna, and another episode in the adventure of weathering. In this video, we're going to get pretty much all of the weathering inside the gondola and underneath the gondola done, and then I can do the weathering on the sides of the gondola. So let me get the camera set up, and we'll discuss, the steps that I'm going to go through to get this session done. Right, so before I can finish the sides, I need to do the interior of the gon and the underframe of the gon. So to do the interior, and the reason I want to do that because now I'm going to be using pigments. And when I do the interior, I don't want those pigments to spill over to a finished side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape off the top cord. And real quick, if I do the sides first, and then I do the interior, and then to do the interior I need to tape off the top cord, then the tape, if there's any good pigments going on anywhere around here, the tape might pull it off, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to tape off the top cord, and then I used to have a set of rust color paints I got from Ammo of Mig Jimenez, and I don't have those anymore, so I went to my local store. They carry a pretty good line of Vallejo paints, and although I'm not a big fan of Vallejo paints, what I need to do, these paints will work fine. So I kind of bought myself a little set of my own, what I thought would be good rust colors. So I've got the burnt umber, which would be the dark brown, just like the interior color here. Then I've got a German red brown, which would be a little bit lighter and more on the red side. And then I got the rust color, which is a lighter red. And then I got more of a brown orange, which is called mud brown. Then I got like this one called oxide orange or orange rust. And then I got the yellow, which is what do they call it, chrome yellow. So that's my rust set. So I don't need this one because I already have the interior done. But I do want to shoot these ones. And what I'm going to do is just basically mix a little bit up in the airbrush and just spritz it around. Just give a variation of color. Now that's not going to be what we would consider the finished color, but it's going to be what I guess I would call the base to start weathering over. So you don't need to see me paint. You've already seen me paint. All I'm going to do is take it and go in various places and just get a mix of colors. So let me get that done, and I'll show you the results there, and then we'll move to the pigments. Alright, I've got the gondola all spritzed. So I used all those colors and just kind of shot it inside the walls and the bed. So now it's time to use pigments. So I've got, basically I start with dark earth. These are the old AIM, which are now, let's see, who makes these now? Monroe models. They're very, very good pigments. So we'll start with the dark earth. Then I've got some medium earth. I've got some dark buff. I've got light rust. I've got medium rust. I've got dark rust. I've got ammo medium rust, which is darker than the AIM medium rust. And I've got ammo Trax rust. So those are the colors I'll be using, and then I'll be fixing it with the ammo pigment fixer. I think AK makes the same thing basically. Now before you use this stuff you want to shake it because a lot of the fixer settles to the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in my airbrush. And basically when I put the pigments in, I get out the excess pigment, and then I'll go spray it with the pigment fixer. Now, I don't get up close and spray it. I'm about a foot to maybe a foot and a half, 2 feet away, and I mist it into it. So I hold it basically almost at arm's length. Well, not quite, but you know, like I said, about 18 inches away, and just mist it and let it settle in, not like hose it down. So I'll get a brush, I'll get some dark earth on there. The dark earth is my base color, and I'm just gonna scrub it into the walls, into the floor. Now you can see why I put tape up on the top cord. Make sure I cover it thoroughly. You don't want to get this stuff on the sides of your car. I'm going to blow it out. So that's what it looks like right now. Now I'm going to go mist it. Alright, so there's what it's looking like right now. You can see some of the color isn't fully misted. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I get all the crud off my fingers. So I'm going to use some paper towel with a little bit of moisture on it. I'm going to use this Windex multi-surface cleaner, spray it on the paper towel, and then just wipe my fingers off. Get all of the powders off my fingers because I don't want it anywhere on the car. There we go. Okay, next I'm going to take some, you can go random now with anything you want. So let's take some medium earth, and now we're not really going to scrub it in. We're just going to dab it around. Alright, get that out of the car, blow it out. And now there's some piles of it there. And then let's take some Trax rust. Do the same thing. Just kind of pile it around a little bit in there. Now I'm going to go mist it. Make sure you don't have any heavy deposits. I got a couple of heavy deposits in the corners here. Alright, let me mist it. Alright, so it's still a little wet, but it's starting to get some variation in color. So now let's take some light rust. Just kind of scrub that around. Little bit of dark rust. Some dark buff. Scrub that around. How about some medium rust from ammo? A little bit more dark earth. Some more dark rust. I'm gonna go blow this out. Make sure you don't spit into it. Okay, now I'm gonna go mist that. Alright, so far the car is starting to shape up. I still want to do some more layers. So let me dry this out with the airbrush. It's still a little damp. Alright, so now what do we want? We got some on the side of the bottom side of the car here. It's okay. Okay, so what do I want to go with now? How about some medium rust from AIM? Go with some more dark buff. Some dark earth. Just kind of randomly choosing colors. Go mist this one. You dry it off. actually, for this car, I could call that finished. I like the effects that are, yeah, I'm going to call that finished. So what we can do is we can take this tape off right now, and you get a better idea of what the car looks like. Get some more light on that. So I'm going to call the interior of that done. And now if you wanted to go back and put scratches in it, you could do that with paint or something like that. Or maybe even, let me try something here. I can always cover it up. Maybe even take a tool and just come back in. Oh, you can't even scratch that. Yeah, but you could come in and put paint scratches or something like that into it as well. But that's in there solidly. You're not going to put any fingerprints on it or anything like that. That's all set up. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to clean up this towel or put another one over it, and we're going to do the bottom of the car. Now the bottom of the car is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to get the rust tones. It's going to get only earth tones. So let's put this here. And now I'm gonna have to tape up this area here. So let me turn the camera off. I'm just gonna put some tape across these areas here because I don't want the pigments to get down the sides of the car. All right, so I've got the car taped up and I've put all the rust colors away. I'm not gonna be using any of the rust colors. I got 4 colors out. I got dark earth, medium earth, dark buff, and then I brought out dirty yellow. So this one is the dirty yellow. So once again, I'm going to start with the dark earth as my base. And I'm just going to scrub it into all the nooks and crannies and crevices and all that on the bottom of the car. Scrub it in. Now you could alternatively wet the underside of this car down with pigment fixer and scrub it in that way too. Let's get all the excess off of there. Okay, so I've got all the excess off. Now it's time to fix it with the pigment fixer. I hit it from all angles. I'll dry it. Alright, let's flip this stuff off. Okay. There, we got tape all over the car there. Now let's go with some medium earth, some dark buff, some dirty yellow, more medium earth. You don't have to do a whole lot to the bottom of the car because you really don't see it. And some people could argue you don't even have to do the bottom of the car. But, you know, it's part of the model. Let's just get it done. Just getting all the excess off here. Make sure there's no heavy deposits on it, so that's what it looks like before fixing the pigments. Now I'm gonna, like again, I'll hit it at all angles with just a mist. And so there it is so far after being misted. Now I want more medium earth on this brake cylinder or air reservoir and such. Medium earth kind of ties a lot of the colors together. The lights and the darks, and blow it off and fix it. Oh, I need more pigment fixer in the airbrush. When I buy my pigment fixer, I usually buy about 4 to 6 bottles because I use it quite a bit. Alright, so actually we could pretty much call the bottom of the car done now too. And it's that simple. Just randomly put colors into it. These are all earth tones. Just randomly put colors into it and mist it. And what happens, you don't want to soak it because wherever the mist hits, it'll darken it a little bit. And wherever the mist doesn't hit, it'll leave it a nice light color, so you'll get those contrasts. And on the bottom of the car, you don't have to worry about ever really rubbing it off with your fingers because you're never going to touch that part of the car. But the top surfaces that did get hit, you can touch and they'll be fine. I like how the draft gearboxes turned out on each end. So the interior and the bottom of the car is now done. Alright, now everybody probably has one of these foam trays that you use to detail or paint or whatever, but now it's time to do the sides of the cars. And for that I use pretty much 2 to 3 colors. I know there's more colors here, but sometimes I'll dip into these two. But I'll use let me shake this up a little bit. I use the AIM Dark Earth. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Now it's above the line. Anyway, I use the AIM Dark Earth. I use the Pan Pastel White, Payne's Gray. I don't know which one's this one. This one's Raw Umber and Burnt Sienna Shade. I don't use these that much, but I do use them sometimes. I use the Pan Pastels because they're very sticky. They really stick well, and this sticks well. And I can blend this with the white to get the different colors. But all I want to do is get some earth tones into these nooks and crannies and crevices and stuff like that. So the tools that I use, this is what they call an artist kneaded eraser. It's pliable, you can bend it and form it into any shapes and stuff like that. And I've got an applicator paintbrush. This is just a small, I think it's a filbert type brush. Yes, a filbert. So it's a number 2, and it's going to help me get the pastels into the corners and such. Now, the pigments and pastels, they'll bleed out a little bit, which you don't want. That's why I have the kneaded eraser to go in and pick it out. I also have a brush like this, just a kind of like the same. It's been used before, and I do the same with the blending. And then after I use the eraser to pick off what I don't want, it'll typically leave a hard edge. So I want to use like a blender brush and just blend it all back together. So let's get started on this. I'm afraid to open this thing because it's gonna fall all over the place. Yep. Alright. Well, I'll just leave it over here on this paper towel. I'll probably knock it over. Alright, so let's get started with this. And I'll do a couple panels. Let me move these lids so I can move everything back. I'll just start with a couple panels, and you can get the idea, because this is going to take some time, and I don't think you want to watch me through the whole thing. So I'm going to put a little bit of pigment on my brush here, and let's just go into these corners. And then I'll take a little bit of white and I'll blend it. And then I'll come in, it's coming out a little too far into the panel, so I'll come in and pick it off. Now I don't swipe at it, I mostly just dab at it, and it'll create a random edge. And then I can come in with the blender brush and blend that edge. So you get, where am I here? On this one, let me turn this around. Maybe you can see it better. Which one is it? This one right here. You can maybe see a little bit of earth tone built up along the edges and the top, underneath the top here. And that's what I'm going for. So let me do a little bit of raw umber. Get some more dark earth. I like dark earth a lot. It has the most versatility to it as far as what it will do. Some white in there. And that's all I'm basically going to do. So let me go ahead and concentrate on getting these panels done. I'm going to do the same thing. Just get some pigment down in there, manipulate it, erase some of it, maybe blend it with white or Payne's gray, maybe put some of the other brown pan pastels in there, just to get a randomness and to bring the color, you know, darker and lighter as it comes out to the middle of the panel. Well, that side's done there. You can see it's got darker tones in the rib area. You can see some down at the bottom here and here, but you can handle it because there's none in the areas that that your fingers touch. It's all tucked away. So let me go ahead and just kind of go through a quick. So I've got a bunch of pigment over here. Let me pull this over. I've got a bunch of pigment here ground into my paper towel, so I can just take my brush and stab into it, and I can go up here at the top and just scrub it into the corners. You can see how it's all scrubbed in now. Now you got that line around there. Now I'll take my little kneaded eraser and I'll go in and clean that out. And then we'll take this brush here and we're going to blend the edges. Let's see if I can get that on camera. Let me zoom in a little bit. Somehow this light, how about if I turn it up a bit more? There, how's that? So now you can see the dustiness down in the sides of the ribs there. And it gives a nice blend and earth tone effect. Now, what you don't want to do with this, the same with washes, is you don't want the buildup around the grab irons because there wouldn't be any, because grab irons are separated. So you take it out of those areas. This light is so bright. How's that? That's a little bit better. So I'm going to take some more for the next panel. Grind it in. And it's not like there's a science to it or anything like that. It's just how it comes about and it looks, and if you're happy with the results. Oops, sorry about that, everybody. It's a very subtle effect, but it helps give some contrast into the ribs. And you can't see it on the camera really. This light is so dang bright. Maybe if I turn it off. How's that? Gets kind of grainy looking though, doesn't it? No, not really. It's not too bad. So let me do one more, and then I'll go ahead and get the whole side done. Once I get the sides done, then I can do the ends. And the ends will be interesting to do. So I'm going to do them in a little bit different way. So I'll just do this last panel here, and I'll turn the camera off and get the rest of them done. And you can see how fast it's going along. I don't know how... Okay, in that view you can kind of see the difference in the earth tone effects to these panels compared to these panels. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of this done. Maybe you can see the inside there. That's a better view of the inside of the gun. Get a little bit better idea of the colors. In the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and get this part, the rest of these done. I'll finish the ends, and then it's just trucks and wheels. I've got the couplers done, and I'll explain how I've done the couplers. I didn't really do these. I just stole them from a car that I was working on that I never finished. They've been sitting up on the bench here forever, but I'll explain how I did those. Well, the car is now done. I've finished with putting the pigments on it, and I've got the couplers on. Now for the ends, I didn't go in and detail it. I just took a broad brush and I just stabbed in all of the pigments, and then I came back with the eraser and just went in and picked it all out and just left it deep into the recesses and such. There's that end. I got, like I said, I got the couplers in place, and so that takes care of that gondola. So all I have left to do are these wheel sets. Now these are the Walther's wheel sets. They're not the greatest, but they'll work for this car. Like I said, this car was a test to get me back into weathering, and I don't know if I want to put my good exact rail or tangent 100-ton trucks under it, save those for the real gondolas. But I actually like this, so maybe I will. I'll have to look them over and I'll make that decision here real shortly. So there you have it. The car itself is done. I've done all. I'm not going to do any more additional weathering to it. I could, if I wanted to, put the wheel spray on the ends, but I think I'm going to leave that off and maybe do it to a different car later on, and such like that. So this car, done. Well, maybe not fully done. I still have the trucks and couplers to do. Now, I said I was going to explain to you how I did the couplers, and I'll do that in the next video, because that's when I would have done the couplers and trucks, trucks, wheels, and such. So that's all that's left to do. So I hope you enjoyed that. Maybe you got an idea of how to use some of the pigments sometimes. I need to get a little bit more back into using the pigments. For some reason, that brown that I was using, it just doesn't seem to stick like the original AIM formula did. I don't know if they changed the formula or what they did, but it didn't stand up like I remember it. And so I got to figure out, how to use them again the way that I used to, and got the results that I did. Now, the internal portion of the gondola turned out exactly how I planned and exactly how I remembered I did it before. Like on the roof of that Missouri Pacific GP15 that I did many years ago. So that I'm happy with. The underframe I'm happy with. The whole look of the sides of the gondolas, I'm thoroughly thrilled with the way it turned out. So hopefully you'll join me for the last video in this series, doing the couplers and trucks.